In the world of Pokemon, evolution is a core concept of the universe. Of course, there are Pokemon that start out small, like a Charmander, and then over time and with experience, they evolve into a bigger Charmeleon. And at the end of your efforts of time and training and loving your Pokemon, turns into the mighty Charizard, which is super strong, super powerful. And this is a core idea that extends to the entirety of every Pokemon property, such as the spin-off video games, the card games, and all that. However, in the Pokemon trading card game, the whole concept of evolution has been kind of short-circuited and cut off in a way where taking that progression from step 1, step 2, particularly stage 2 Pokemon, have been short-circuited in a way where most of them are pretty much unplayable. I wanted to talk about why that's the case and what the Pokemon Company might be doing to address that issue. I'm Jed from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I actually have one thing that I want to say here before we continue with the video. I am currently fundraising for Extra Life, which is a grassroots fundraising effort trying to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. It's a network of 170 hospitals administering 32 million treatments to kids every year. This is my 5th year fundraising for Extra Life, and I will put the link in the description if you would like to make a donation to a wonderful cause. And there are some awesome rewards if you donate at one of the 3 reward tiers. I'm going to show those here. These will be 4x4 or 4x6 prints of my spray paint art, and as you can see, there's a Pokemon in there too with Snorlax, but also Rosalina, Street Fighter, and some original spray paint art as well. So if you're interested, link will be in the description below. All right, back to it. So we were talking about the concept of evolution in Pokemon, and when I started playing the game, I thought that stage 2s would be the ultimate thing because they're the final form of these Pokemon, right? And the reality is no, it's not. The game, I think I can't speak to the full history of the game, but based on my understanding, once the game started shifting into these ultra rare Pokemons like GXs, EXs, and Vs, where it was just like, well, I'm just gonna put a Charmander on the board now, and this now has a ton of HP, and even like tag teams where, oh, I'm gonna put multiple Pokemon on one card, 280 HP, massive move, and ADP. Ugh, such a gross card. Takes multiple prizes as well. The stage 2 cards just couldn't keep up when there are tag teams that were amazing that didn't have to evolve at all, or in modern times, V and V Max cards that outclassed the regular basic stage 2 cards without needing all the extra rigmarole of evolving over the course of multiple turns. And when I started playing the game, I had a hard time realizing like what was going on. And once I started to put together the pieces, it dawned on me this idea of two turns or trash is the expression I use. Let me explain. Okay, we're going to go start with the era that I'm familiar with, Sword and Shield onward. Here's Zacian V. You put an energy on it, you use an Intrepid Sword, you've got a chance to attach 1 or 2 more, up to 3 more energy, and if you hit on the next turn, you attach again. Here's your second turn, you swing with Brave Blade for 230, just gone. Whatever was in there, this can knock out most Pokemon V. Forget about your stage 1s at that point, just obliterated off the board. Dragapult V Max. For only 2 energy and 1 evolution on your second turn, you're bombing for 130 and sniping 50 to the bench. Not only are you taking out stage 1 Pokemon at that point, you're doing big damage on a basic Pokemon on the bench, or even doing notable damage on Pokemon V and V Max, chipping them away for a big multi-prize knockout later in the game. Eternatus V Max, right? 1 turn, you put it down, put an energy. Second turn, you put the second energy, you evolve to the V Max, and you put a whole bunch of Pokemon on the bench, and you can hit for up to 270 damage. And it's just a lot. And I mean, the list goes on and on of a lot of the best Pokemon in the game just being able to get to what they need to do in 2 turns or less. Here we go. Another one. Rapid Strike Urshifu. You put it on the board, you attach some energy, and then to cover the rest of that energy, use the Rapid Strike energy, which counts as two. Two attachments, you're bombing for 120 to two different targets on the board. Or you just put one energy and you're swinging for 150 if you move it from the bench to the active. Single Strike Urshifu. 4 energy sounds like a lot, but if you got the multiple Houndooms on the bench, you can accelerate that on the second turn and punch for over 300 damage. Shadow Rider Calyrex is a little bit of an outlier in this particular set, because on its second turn, it's usually not in a position to do enough damage or even be set up to attack. However, when this was around, Gengar Mimikyu, and you used your Horror House GX to stop your opponent from playing cards on the next turn, that then gave Shadow Rider enough time to hit for 1 billion damage and flood the board with energy. Like, the list goes. Duraludon. This seems like a Pokemon with a weird 1 fighting 2 metal energy cost. How do you get that? And for a while, like, this wasn't a card you could get set up in 2 turns, and it was not that great. And then Arceus showed up, and all of a sudden, Duraludon VMAX is one of the best Pokemon in the game, because Arceus just circumvents the hoops that are required to accelerate energy to Duraludon, and it's good in 2 turns. Mew VMAX, first turn, put it down, second turn, throw double turbo energy, pop some power tablets, knock out anything in the game. The list goes on and on of Pokemon, even Giratina, right? Palkia, we already know. Giratina, even here, you put it down late in the game, you throw a Mirage Gate on, put the third energy on, and you're good. Or you just Thornton to this and Star Requiem, out of the game, 2 turns or less. And the stage 2 Pokemon just can't keep up with that pace, where all of a sudden in 2 turns you are playing against a Pokemon with 200 plus HP, possibly 300 plus, with moves that hit for hundreds of damage. Not even Rare Candy, which has been in the game for a long time, is enough to make these stage 2 Pokemon relevant. The only one that's kind of relevant as a stage 2 right now is Inteleon, the Shady Dealings Inteleon. And it's not necessarily because it's a great attacker, though it does attack sometimes. It's mostly because the Drizzile has an amazing ability. You can evolve in the background as a support Pokemon to probably another V attacker. And then the Inteleon itself gets you an even better ability. And besides that, that's kind of the only stage 2 that's even worth talking about in the game right now. Otherwise, they're just too slow to set up, and yeah, they're too slow. It takes multiple turns, and then a lot of the times the energy costs are just too high. Like, for example, this no one's talking about this Dustox, but when I buy cards and I look at the rares, a lot of them are like this, where it's going to take me multiple turns to set up a Dustox that then only has 140 HP, and at best confuses and poisons, drops 8 damage counters, or hits for 110 damage. Like, would I want to take 2 turns or 2 or 3 turns to set this up, or do I want to take 2 turns and 2 energy to attack with Palkia for 1 billion damage? And then there are even worse ones. Like, there's a lot of stage 2 Pokemon that have crazy charge up moves like this. Rocky Tackle, 180 sounds amazing, but how are you getting 4 energy onto a fighting Pokemon when fighting Pokemon have like terrible energy acceleration? This is just pretty much unplayable. And yet the Geocannon, they try and circumvent that by giving it a single energy attack here that could do 150, but it's still taking 2 turns to evolve up to this, or you're gonna have to find the rare candy as well, and that's just not necessarily fast enough or good enough to contend with the meta. And now, I'm not trying to say that it is all about V Pokemon or GXs or these ultra rares, because at this moment in the Lost Origin meta of the game, single price Pokemon are thriving, but it's not stage 2 Pokemon. For a time during the Pokemon Go era, it was Solrock, Lunatone. And what's the difference here? Basic Pokemon. How about Regigigas and that whole deck? It's one of the strongest decks in the game. Basic Pokemon. I don't have to deal with any sort of having to evolve up and build it up over time. I could just put this on the board. Reggie puts a whole bunch of energy on and then just smashes. How about this one? Rapid Strike Malamar. This may not be meta relevant at the moment, but this was an incredible card for an extended period of time. And this was, again, in 2 turns, you got evolved up to Malabar, you only attached 1 energy, and you used a whole bunch of shady dealings and artillery shenanigans, and you hit for 1 billion damage. And even Radiant Charizard, one of the newer examples, you can only use this towards the end of the game, but again, basic Pokemon, and players have found ways of circumventing this cost, and it just continues to show that single prize Pokemon, these basic cards can work, but they've got to accelerate faster because the overall pace of play is very quick, and you pretty much, again, 2 turns are trash. Get out of here. All right? And right now, Lost Origin, Sableye, yes, it takes time to build up the Lost Zone. I've seen people get this as fast as 2 turns, though. On that second turn, you can just throw Sableye down, put the Lost Mine, 1 energy, drop 10 damage counters, and a lot of decks just can't deal with this. It's crazy. And that Sableye only has 80 HP, but because it's a basic Pokemon and its energy cost is low, it's able to find a niche in a world of V Max, and V-Star cards. And heck, even for a time, this meme, Kyogre, 2 turns are trash. You put the Cryogonal in the active, it accelerated energy to Kyogre, you switched Kyogre into the active, and you just bombed for a whole whack of damage, assuming there was a lot of energy on the board. But again, basic Pokemon that was able to do big damage and accelerate in a hurry was what made this work. And these are the types of cards based on the game's current design that do better because they can keep up with the pace of the bigger Pokemon V and V Max and V Star Pokemon, but the stage 2s just can't keep up. And even this, like, Jumpluff card, which kind of showcases the kind of the Pokemon Company understanding like the challenges of V Pokemon and the pace of play, where on the first turn you put down, I can't even remember it was the Hoppip, and you play the Skiploom card, and it has an ability that when you attach an energy to it, you can immediately jump to the Jumpluff, which then only has a move that does 60 damage, and it attacks twice, so it's actually 120 damage for 1 energy, which is pretty good. You can actually cheese this and put some other scrolls on there to make it do other things. But even then, because it's a stage 2 Pokemon and they built in all these ways of short-circuiting the system as is by giving it an evolution skip built in and making its attack only 1 energy, it's still not good enough. It's just not. So how do we fix this? And I think that we've seen some really interesting things. The Pokemon Company have said some really interesting things about how they fix this. And actually, you know what? There's one other thing that I failed to mention. So before, let's rewind. Another thing about the pace of play is that the way the game is built now, it's such that on turn 2, a player's second turn, odds are they're going to evolve to their VMAX or their V-Star. They're going to put all the energy on. They're going to gust up a Pokemon V. They're going to knock it out. And then all of a sudden you're up 2 prizes. And then odds are the game's probably over if they don't have anything else set up. So like on top of stage 2's just taking too long, V's are having their own battle where they're taking 2-3 prizes at a time. And before you even get the Charizard set up or what have you, whatever stage 2 it is, like this battle's already happening or you've gotten already blown out. All right, so let's flash forward again. What have we seen about the Pokemon trading card game that shows that the Pokemon Company understands that this is a challenge and maybe they're trying to address it? During the World Championships, they revealed the new era of cards, which is the return of EX Pokemon. And one of the cool things is that instead of having like your V and your V Max, your ultra rare card evolve into your even more ultra rare card, these start with common Pokemon and you have to evolve your way up. So you're not going to get punished for not going first. At best, you lose a single prize. You lose your Riolu instead of losing a Lucario V. And that's a great change, which can hopefully slow down the pace of play a little bit. But the thing that excites me most is actually this Magnezone V and the things they have shown here. Now, this picture is a little clouded, but they made specific mention of buffing stage 2 cards, which this Magnezone is. You've got to go and either evolve 2 steps, maybe you can use the rare candy, but they're finally designing these cards understanding that stage 2s are hard to get on the board, so let's make them worth it. This Magnezone has 330 HP, which would make it like the second highest HP for any Pokemon. I think the highest right now is 340. I wouldn't be surprised if there were stage 2s that were actually even higher than 340 with this EX mechanic to make them worth it and to make them keep pace with the V maxes and the V stars that will still be around going forward. But on top of the insanely high health, they've also mentioned that the move costs are going to be low. From what I remember, this move here that you can't see is only 2 energy for 220 damage, which is nuts. And even this one, Energy Crush, which does 50 damage for each energy attached to, I think, your opponent's Pokemon, that can do a lot of damage too. If you're playing against an Arceus deck, this can do a ton of damage for only 1 energy. And by raising the HP, lowering the attack cost, and making these moves more powerful, this could be the thing that makes stage 2 Pokemon relevant again. And yeah, are basic stage 2s still gonna have a chance? That I don't know, but potentially in the world with EXs and stuff, that could be the thing that brings the 2-stage evolution to the forefront. I don't even know, I haven't been playing the game long enough to know if they were ever in the forefront, but potentially bring them to a point where they're actually playable and kind of reflect the whole ethos of evolution in Pokemon versus short-circuiting the whole thing and just say, here's a Charizard V and here's a Charizard V Max. Go. All right. That's going to do it for this one. This one a little more of a ranty video just on my limited understanding of the game's design, but I hope you found it interesting, and I hope I didn't mess up too much in talking about sort of my understanding of the game, and hopefully gives you insight for why some of these cards aren't necessarily as good as we would like, and potentially see that there might be light at the end of the tunnel. All right, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm not going to plug my personal stuff this time, other than the Extra Life campaign. Again, I'm raising money for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. I will put the link in the description of this video. It's your opportunity to not only help a wonderful cause, but also get yourself some sweet rewards, such as prints of my spray paint art. I should have also mentioned it the first time around. I will also include, if you donate at one of these 3 tiers, a signed Pokemon card with a thank you on it. And look, it's gonna be like a basic, it's a bulk card, but you'll have my signature and a thank you on it. And it's the least I can do for thanking you for supporting a wonderful cause. All right, that's gonna be it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.